Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday. We've got some Notre Dame men's basketball coming up. About 6:30 is when the pregame starts from down in Louisville. The Fighting Irish looking for a win down in Kentucky. So we'll have a little bit of a short show tonight. It is a mailbag show, though, and Vince, we're just loaded up, man. We got all kinds of questions ready to go here.
Well, that excites me. I'm ready to answer some questions. People always, hey man, I got a question. I got answers. I don't know if they're going to be what you want to hear, but I got plenty of answers. I'm ready.
Well, we'll see where it goes then. This has been kind of a sleepy day for me. I don't know about you.
Can't say that.
I was exhausted last night.
Mm-hmm.
I think the time change with the West Coast is catching up with me now. So
I've only been to California one time, and the time difference is legit. I don't usually go far enough away where it's like a 1 hour difference or something like that. And that's really, negligible. But California is legit. 3 hours is a legit difference on your day. You know what I mean?
It is. It's weird when you're out there and you think, you look at the clock and you're in California. It's like, 9 a.m. That means it's noon.
Correct.
Back here at home.
Massive difference. That's a big time. Get up at 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock out in California, when I'm getting up here. Yeah. Or whatever the case may be. So that's a massive difference. We've got some family out there and I'm like, I want to text them or do something. I'm like, well, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. That's probably not a great idea.
Gotta wait.
So it's a big difference. Yeah, and I can only imagine.
Got their, going back and forth. Their phone in silent mode, or if they've got
I don't want
alerts on, and
be that guy.
There's nothing that annoys me more than when my wife we've got our cell phones charging at night in the room, but it's across the room.
Oh,
but my wife will be getting these work messages because she's a nurse, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and it would be one thing if it was something urgent. It's not like she's going to get called out in the middle of the night, but yeah, coworkers messaging her stray messages at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, she's got to put that sleep mode on. That way it goes into silent mode. You know what I mean? That is key. Once I think mine actually goes on at 11, 11 to whenever. But I can always count on you being up when I get up in the morning.
Yeah, see, that's a lot of times I'll get messages from you and Jesse later at night. Not late at night. Yeah. My phone's in silent mode most of the time anyway, so it doesn't bother me. But then I'll get up in the morning, so I won't even realize it, and I'll get up in the morning, and so I'll answer something that you guys sent, at 10:30 or 11 or whatever.
Right, but I usually get up for school, so I can count if it's something work related, I can count on you as I'm getting ready in the morning. You'll respond, you're up,
right?
You're ready to roll. Unlike some of our other coworkers who hold different hours than we do.
Yes. Who we will get emails from at 3 a.m.
Right.
Before he goes to bed. So, yeah.
Yes. I there are often times where I wake up in the morning and I have a text because mine is in silent as well. It says, "You up?" ?
Mm-hmm.
Odds are probably not. Like this.
Don't have to answer it. So.
Right.
If I don't answer, it means I'm not.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right, let's jump into this mailbag. Andre, faithful listener, has been patiently asking NIL questions this week, and we haven't had the chance to get to him so far. And so he's going to lead things off today. He says, is it too late to really govern NIL at this point? And then the follow-up says, do you believe the NCAA is totally responsible for the NIL mess because all member institutions never really wanted an actual legitimate documents to make it good for all sports? So there's a lot here.
That is a lot
with NIL. I mean, the NCAA is responsible for the mess that NIL is in because essentially it's not because the members didn't want it. It's because the NCAA kept pushing. I'm sure there were some members who didn't want it, but the NCAA kept distancing itself from it and failing to address it. And then ultimately they let the courts make the decision for them. And now they're left to deal with it. And that's essentially, like, if I was going to boil down why the mess is the mess that it is right now, that's kind of how I would boil it down. I don't know about you.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. I also think that over the past couple of decades, we have seen the NCAA just have a lack of teeth in the first place. And so I think their lack of teeth, lack of any kind of, for their favorite words, institutional control, they don't have much. And so they're already not a very strong group to begin with. And then with this whole situation with NIL and the way that it went down and the guardrails that you would need in the first place, I just don't think the NCAA, to your point, did a very good job of staying up with the times, number one. And then number two, putting any rules in place. And they really made themselves a non-entity when it comes to governing anything that has to do with NIL. Like they're just completely on the outside looking in, and they already didn't have a whole lot of teeth to begin with, and now they have even less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of NIL, you also have the rev share aspect of this.
Sure.
There's just so many layers to it now, so like the other thing, like, is it beyond correcting? Probably so, because we are down this road now. The door has been opened. And again, like, once the courts decide something, you're going to have a hard time going backwards.
I mean, this is the classic case of the toothpaste is out of the tube. Like, you're going to have a hard time putting it back in. I'm a strong proponent for some sort of a salary cap or something along those lines, but I don't know that you can put this thing into reverse at this point. I just don't know, because if you try to do something, you've got multiple schools who have signed multi-year contracts with kids. And so do you grandfather those in? Do those count? Like, there's so many different things. And then you're going to run the risk of just going back to the 80s where everything's under the table anyway. So I don't know if even having guardrails at this point is even going to do anything.
I don't know what else to add to it, but I think you're I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be frustrated by it, be frustrated.
Yeah. And I am. I'm frustrated by it. Like, I'm all for the players getting paid. I have no problem with that. I mean, I was in the camp way back when. They're like, hey, man, they're getting a free education.
But I mean, it wasn't that long ago when we were going, yeah, these guys should be able to go out and do an autograph session at a car dealership or whatever. That seemed like such a simple, idea. And like, look at what it has become. It has skyrocketed past that. Literally millions of dollars taken. I mean, it's just become, as a lot of coaches have said, it's what was already taking place beyond, like remember the whole Adidas scandal with money and coaches and all that stuff just a few years ago. It's like, that is nothing now.
And, now these kids and their kids, they're kids. These kids are making generational money, and some of these kids won't even make it to the NFL, and they're making generational money. I mean, money that will sustain them for a very long period of time if they do it right, obviously, invest and do whatever. But like, being handed money at that age is dangerous. Don't get me wrong. It can be, whatever, but it's a lot of money changing hands. And I'm glad the kids got a cut. I'm glad the kids got a cut, but they're making generational money and they may not even go pro. That's crazy to me.
No, but it also sort of proves the point of having NIL and doing this to begin with. And that was the fact that the schools were making so much off the players. And now the players, guys who, as you said, the majority of them still won't have a chance to go pro and play in the NFL or the NBA or the NHL, Major League Baseball, wherever, WNBA, obviously, for the females. Like, they still won't have the opportunity to do that, but they've got the opportunity to make money off their names while they're in school, which is still, regardless of wherever it has gone to, that was still the idea behind the whole thing is the schools and the NCAA were making this money off them. Now, at least they can make money for themselves, give themselves an opportunity if they don't have those other bigger opportunities to play professional sports.
Yeah, and at the very least, I mean, it's a pretty nice nest egg to at least get your life started. I mean, your son just went through a wedding that he paid for, the majority himself and his lovely bride, and you tell me that he wouldn't have liked to have like a little nest egg sitting there to pay for his wedding or whatever, a new house, to get you started.
Right.
I mean, that's a great launching off point for these kids if they don't go pro or what. I mean, say they go and become a lawyer or whatever, pay for some law school, like all of those different things. I mean, it's a great opportunity for these kids, and like I said, a lot of money changing hands.
So Swandon says, piggybagging off of this, do you think creating transfer portal rules are the only way to help college football? Is it possible, or will that create even more litigation? I'm assuming you're saying by creating transfer portal rules, like sitting out for a year and that kind of thing, if that's what you're alluding to. I don't think that again, I think we're past that point now, because I think then it becomes an antitrust thing, and then you're back in courts once again, and I don't see them, because it becomes a restraint of trade or whatever. Like, I don't see that. I don't see them being able to go back to that now at this point.
Yeah, I don't either. And if you keep track of how these court filings and verdicts have been going, I mean, it's not going in the way of less money or less time in school. It's going the way of everything's wide open. I mean, with the whole JUCO doesn't count, and all of these different things that are happening. I mean, we're gonna have like 30-year-olds playing college. And I mean, I realize we have that with like Australian punters and things like that, but I think it's going to become more the norm, the way things are trending. At 30, I'm exaggerating, but like 25, 26-year-olds still playing college football. And that's wild, considering I have an 18-year-old who's playing college football.
I do think, like, the JUCO thing, I do think that Diego Pavia obviously was able to capitalize on that. I don't think that those 2 years in a junior college should count against your NCAA.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Because they're two different organizations. One is the NCAA, the other is the National Junior College Athletic.
So what about like NAIA?
But like
4 years of NAIA, does that count? That's not NCAA.
I mean, it's another level. Yeah. Like,
I don't know, I'm just being devil's advocate here. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, but there are plenty. Like, here's something that nobody talks about, and that is the military academies.
Sure.
They all have prep schools. There's an Army prep, there's a Navy prep, there's an Air Force prep. And what a lot of these guys will do, what the academies will do after high school, they'll go to the prep school for a year, and they'll play this, they'll obviously go to school at the prep school and play the sport at the prep school, which essentially operates as an extra year of eligibility without counting against actual NCAA eligibility before they get to the service academy. So they're still getting 5 years out of the whole deal by going to the prep school first.
And there's a ton of prep schools out there, obviously. La Lemire right down the road, for basketball primarily. We see guys going that route. And so, yeah, there's a lot of loopholes, I guess. I don't think, obviously you can go to JUCO for 2 years, right? So it'd be 2 years of free whatever, I guess. I don't know. I guess I need more information before I come down on one side or the other. But because I see what you're saying, and so you're swaying me a little bit, but I don't know.
Vince wants the rules. The rules should be the rules.
That's right.
You have to fall within the
very
rules.
Black and white when it comes to the rule. I mean, literally, that's my job during the day. I'm the rules guy, so like I do feel like I am a rules guy in general. But yeah.
As USMA, whose handle is literally U.S. Military Academy, who went to West Point, he says these are specific academy prep schools. Yes. Like I said, there is an Army prep.
Yep.
And so you go, like, the West Point guys would go to Army prep for a year, and then they would go into West Point the next year.
I had a young man
Navy
who worked
prep, Naval Academy, and Air Force. So,
local athlete worked for me at Gatorade in the summertime, and he ended up signing with Army and went to prep school for a year. Played basketball and did prep school for a year, and then went the 4 years of the academy. So yeah, it's a very, very common thing, especially for athletes. Very common.
Yeah. When I was in Colorado, before I moved here, I was broadcasting junior college men's basketball and baseball, and they would play games against Air Force Prep in Colorado Springs out there, like Air Force Prep, and like Air Force, the Air Force Prep team would play against junior colleges, basically, and some other small schools and stuff like that. Now, Irish Chi-Town says yes, but academies also rarely redshirt anyone. This is true, but academies also, like if you are enrolled in the academy, you are earning a monthly stipend, so like there's a lot of things that are unique to that. But the point is they're getting that, like for the guys specifically who go to the prep school, they're getting that built-in extra year is my point. So like there is
kind of a red shirt.
There isn't and the military academies are part of the NCAA. So they're getting a built-in loophole just based on the fact that they are a military academy instead of, like your run-of-the-mill.
And they don't redshirt because once you've been there for 4 years, like you're done. Like they don't have grad school at the military. Like you only get the 4 years. Like there's no technical redshirt, but guys still have eligibility when they leave. I mean, that's a thing, so they don't technically redshirt, but they don't necessarily play all 4 years either.
No. And like Alohi Gilman obviously transferred from Navy when there was still the transfer rule where you had sat out a year. And so like he was penalized for doing that, just like anyone else would have been penalized. So we can get off this topic. It's like
this is a whole thing, man. Like
it could eat up a lot of time, and it can not the most enjoyable to talk about, to be quite honest. Excuse me. So Domer Grizz asks, the home and home series you would most like Notre Dame football to schedule is what?
Well, we kind of talked about this the other day, and there is something on the books, but it's still ways away. But for me, it's IU. I want that now. Like I want that series right now. For very selfish reasons, very petty reasons, which shouldn't surprise anybody that listens to this show or listens to me talk on the show. But I want IU now because based on our conversation the other day, I am not convinced that Notre Dame is going to play IU in 30 and 31. Like, I'm just not. So
I'm not either.
I want it now.
I totally agree. Like, as long as Kurt Cignetti is there with the way that their schedule philosophy has unfolded under Cignetti, I think that it is highly unlikely. Like, if you're asking me scale of 1 to 10, what's the chances that it actually takes place, I would probably put it at a 4.
Yeah.
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's
a
lot of people in the chat who agree with that Navy ultimately pulls out. John says Ohio State. Irish for life is where I side with. I know Vince is anti-Michigan. Brady Quinn is on the Michigan train. I'm in on Michigan. Notre Dame with USC pulling off the schedule. Notre Dame really needs a marquee rivalry type game on there, and Michigan would fulfill that. And it's obviously been a while since Notre Dame has played Michigan. So I would love to see. Now, obviously, we've got a home and home, but we're still 7 to 8 years down the road before that's going to happen. So I would love to see. I would love to see Michigan on the schedule.
I get that. Yeah, I wouldn't. Honestly, I'm to the point where I wouldn't mind it, just because I know how good Notre Dame is. I feel very confident if they would schedule that game. Who knows how I'll feel next year or the year after or whatever. You know what I mean? But like right now, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, see, Raymond says bleep Michigan. I mean, you can also say bleep Michigan while Notre Dame is playing.
Yeah,
in the stadium. You can say bleep Michigan from the stands. Like, it doesn't have to be exclusive to hear on talk shows or in YouTube chat. So yeah. You can still do that.
Accurate.
Yeah. All right, let's see. From Ballpeen Shillelagh, I saw this one on there. So with all of the defensive position coaching turnover, we haven't thought much of the offensive coaching staff recently. If hypothetically every offensive position coach left, who would you target to replace them?
I have no idea because I don't follow what other assistant coaches are doing throughout college football. Like that, I am not that deep into it.
Like a month ago, Charlie Partridge, Aaron Henry, none of these names would have tripped off of our tongues.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. Like, and once they do, then you can dive in and you can check out their resume and you can see where they've been and what they've done. You're like, oh yeah, this is a good hire. You could be on board with it. But honestly, I have no clue which direction I would go with any of those, with any of those position coaches. I really don't.
I agree. It's like these guys get identified as they become open, and
Right.
it's up to the head coach to kind of have an idea of who he might go after if he becomes in need of position coaches. It's so hard to identify these guys like a year in advance without even knowing who's actually going to be gone. So
and to be honest, like when these guys were hired, he's got Rudolph, Mike Brown, Geno, Sider, Jawan Sider. I didn't know who they were before they came. You know what I mean? I knew who Jawan Sider was because I knew that he was the coach of Penn State running backs. I did know him. But other than that, like these guys were all new to me when they were hired at Notre Dame,
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, look, you can always say, as Josh said, you can always Harry Heastan, you can
he will
say
always
those
be
things.
at the top of everybody's list. I've been, I don't know, shocked, but at least amused by the fact that basically the linebacker job came open twice here in the cycle within the span of about a month. And both times people were like, Manti Te'o.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I'll never go down that road, obviously. Like he was a great player. It's a great player. I have no idea if he's ever coached a down of football in his life. You know what I mean? And that's not taking anything away from Manti. He's got a great thing going with the NFL Network and whatnot right now. Who's to say he's going to be a good coach? And why would you make this at Notre Dame in this kind of a season that everybody thinks that Notre Dame has national championship aspirations? Why would you even put him in that position?
As a first-time coach,
yeah,
never even been a grad assistant or anything like that, or like showed any, either any aptitude or desire to be a coach. Obviously, he pursued something completely different, and like you said, he's working in TV with the NFL Network right
They'd be
now.
like, you know what? If Mike Denbrock decided to retire, let's bring in Brady Quinn. He could be the offensive coordinator. Manti could be the linebacker coach. We could bring Tom Zibikowski back in to be the secondary
I've got news for you, Vince. There are plenty of people who would sign up for what you're rolling.
I know they would.
Plenty of people would be all about it.
And Quentin Nelson, he's got to be retiring here soon, right? We bring him in as the O-line coach.
That's right.
Yeah.
6 months later, they'd be ready to pull the plug on half of them.
Hey, don't forget, there were a lot of Harry Heastan naysayers as well out there. So
it's very true
when he was here.
I'm shocked at the retroactive Harry Heastan was overrated crowd that I've heard.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And somehow that narrative of him being like a lazy recruiter and all of that, like
he was never a lazy recruiter. It just was not his favorite thing to do. Like people twist little things like that. They turn, well, he doesn't really like recruiting into he hates recruiting. He doesn't like to recruit. He's not a good recruiter.
Right.
Like, do you remember the guys that he was signing and bringing to Notre Dame?
Exactly.
He didn't like it that much. Didn't like going on the road and doing that, glad handing of 16 and 17-year-old kids.
But he
kind of
he narrowed his field down to exactly who he wanted. He put all of his energy into those things, or those kids, and he generally got them almost every time. I hate doing my taxes, but I still do it, and I do a good job on it. Like it's just. Yeah, it's
part of the deal.
It is part of the deal, man. It is part of the deal.
Part of the deal is we take a break here. We come back. We answer more mailbag questions. Woo! That is coming up with Vince DeDario, Sean Steiners, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com continues, along with Vince DeDario, Sean Stiers. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Notre Dame women's basketball coming up tomorrow night. Fighting Irish welcome Virginia Tech to town.
Woo!
Notre Dame point guard Megan Duffy, head coach of the Hokies for this is year 2 for her down there in Blacksburg, and this will be her first trip back as head coach of Virginia Tech. You might remember she was here a couple years back, the NCAA tournament, when she was still head coach at Marquette. But we got a 7:00 tip-off tomorrow night.
That's true. So a slightly shorter show tomorrow. Slightly
shorter, just a little bit shorter than usual. That's right. Speaking of which, got a couple of questions in here from Irish Chi-Town.
Okay.
He wants to know who would the all-time starting 5 be for Notre Dame women's basketball?
Be pretty guard heavy.
This is, I mean, at least we know that Ruth Riley would be the center.
That's fair.
Right? Then you put Skylar Diggins in there.
Yeah.
Like, how do we want to break this up? Do we want to make sure that we represent, like at least?
Are we like a 4 guard, 1 center team or?
Exactly.
I mean, I think if you're looking at like the all-time greats, most of them are guards. So I think we got to go with a 4 on the outside, 1 in the middle, kind of an offense here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to put Arike Agumbawale in there.
It's 3.
So that's 3 spots right there. What I don't know is like, okay, Beth Cunningham, for example, she's up in the Ring of Honor right now. She's another guard, and she is one of the top scorers. I think she's still 3rd all time in program history in scoring, but there have been so many, other, great and more recent. And like, do we need a forward in there? Because Natalie Achonwa is, hanging in the rafters up there. Her banner is too, a little bit more recent. This is tough because there have been so many great ones. And how do you start, like pairing?
I think this is where you need to have like a 2 deep, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, give me a full team. Give me 10 to 12. So I got some scores coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah. Because, then like there's so many good ones, so many great ones.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Hannah's in the conversation, obviously.
Yeah, already in the conversation right now. And that's Chi-Town actually asks, will Hidalgo go down as the greatest Irish player of all time? Again, it's a long list, but she's the fastest in ACC history and program history to get to 2,000 points. She's only a little bit more than 500 points behind Agumbawale for the all-time scoring record. She's already got the steals record at Notre Dame. So I think by the time it's all said and done, like you're gonna go, yeah.
I would say if she, and I'm not saying this from any point of knowledge, right? If she's here for a 4th year, she's gonna have all the records. Like she'll have them all. I mean, and then I don't think it's even a conversation. I think she's in the starting 5.
Yeah, like Chi-Town says, she has a real chance. And I guess it's going to matter. Like, are you going to look at just purely individual? This is kind of like these, best player on the best team versus,
right.
This is an individual thing, the greatest player of all time. Robin says Skylar, Hannah, Ruth, Jewel, Arike. I mean, that's
you win a lot of games with that 5.
Pretty good 5 right there. Yeah.
Win a lot of games.
Gonna do a lot of shooting, and then Ruth will just be in there rebounding and kicking. I guess. She's
seriously
laying it in. So a lot of great ones. Yeah. And again, like I said, Hannah's already got the all-time steals record. And as you said, assuming back for another year next year, she's going to be the program's all-time scoring leader as well. I think that'll be a lock.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be pretty hard to deny.
I agree. I agree. So make sure you're going to see some games. Make sure you're paying attention because, she's got a year and a half left and then that's it. So
only 3 home games left this year.
Exactly.
Which is crazy to think about.
I know. So, you got to enjoy it. Don't sit back and not enjoy when you've got it right here in front of you.
Played Like a Champion has a list of questions.
Wow.
Before the 2026 season begins, will Notre Dame football take sufficient action to address the challenges posed by biased and poor officiating?
What are they supposed to do exactly? I don't know that there's anything that they can do. You can write a sternly worded letter, but that's not going to change anything. They have an agreement with the ACC. So, no, the answer is no. They're not going to do anything. I don't think there's anything they can do.
Yeah, I mean, they send in their clips every week during the season if there's something that they disagree with. I don't know what they can do beyond that. Like, bias is obviously a very subjective term, I don't know that it's necessarily biased when you're a fan. You feel like it's biased a lot of times when the calls aren't going your way, but there are plenty of times when calls go the other way and the other team is saying the same thing. It is more about the overall level of officiating than anything, than bias, I think. And we've talked about this before. There's a shortage of officials in the country right now in all sports, and it is harder and harder. Yeah, it is harder and harder to have quality officiating at the levels that you need them to be at across the board.
Yeah, you'd have a hard time convincing me that the officiating is biased towards Notre Dame. I can get on board with poor officiating, but I don't think that that's a Notre Dame thing. I just think that that's what people are watching. Like Notre Dame fans, that's what you're watching. You're watching Notre Dame games, and so it feels that way. I just think
there are plenty of fan bases.
Yeah,
like I said, who feel the exact same way that you do. That
yeah, absolutely.
They're being, the officiating is biased against them.
Yep.
But you happen to be a fan of Notre Dame, so that's how you feel.
Correct. And I as a coach, I was always very frustrated when you can't control what the fans do, and it's whatever. The players, when they start talking about officiating, it's like, guys, just take care of your business, and you don't have to worry about officiating.
Yeah. Now you're focused on the wrong thing.
Exactly. I will always hold true to that thought process. So
exactly. Question 2 from Played Like a Champion. In what ways could anti-Notre Dame fervor make it harder for Notre Dame football to win the national championship in the 2026 season? He says this question was prompted by ESPN continuing its feverish anti-ND campaign after ND wouldn't play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and also to a lesser extent by Miami players believing a fabricated J-Love quote talking smack about them.
He's not going to like my answer to this because it's going to be very similar to the first one.
Right.
There's literally nothing that they can do except win all your games. Don't put your future in the hands of anybody else. Like, that's the thing. So we talked about, them getting quote unquote snubbed, right, in the last playoff, commit by the last playoff committee. If they win one of those 2 games, it's a non-factor. They're not getting snubbed. Take care of your business and don't put it in their hands. It's the same thing here. Win your games, you're good to go.
Yes. What has Marcus Freeman said? Leave no doubt.
Exactly.
That's honestly it, because if you take care of your business, it's like talking points on ESPN are not going to matter.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, I don't think, it was so different this year because of what made it different this year was the fact that you had that head-to-head, and Notre Dame was ranked ahead of Miami.
Yep.
That's what led to all this talk.
Yep.
But again, if Notre Dame had taken care of business to begin with, it wouldn't have been the biggest talking point of the entire selection process, and it wouldn't have been an issue. Notre Dame would have been in, Miami would have been out if Notre Dame had taken care of business and won that game. It's just that simple.
Yep. And I know people don't want to hear that, and I get that. I understand it. They were snubbed, in my opinion, especially with the way that it went down. But if they win one of those games, it is a moot point. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And that's on Notre Dame. You can't start the season 0-2, no matter how you play the rest of the way, and not have other people have an opinion and a say in how your season ends. That's just the way it is.
That's it. You know, again, like Irish for Life is saying that, and ESPN lobbying against Notre Dame for a month leading up. See, and I guess that's my point.
It's a talking point.
Whether or not they were lobbying, but the committee does hear that. And, like
Absolutely,
they heard, like that was the argument. So again, it's a very specific case because of the fact that there was a head-to-head. Miami won the game. Notre Dame did not. They both had loss. Notre Dame had 2 losses. Miami had 2 losses. And that's why that became such a specific talking point, not just on ESPN, but everywhere else as well.
And here's the other thing that probably people aren't going to want to hear either. Like, was it blatant Notre Dame bias, or was it a talking point that made a lot of people click and a lot of people pay attention and a lot of people have an opinion on? That's a thing too. Like, this was the topic du jour for the last month of the season. And whether you were a Notre Dame lover, hater, or somewhere in between, it was a topic that got a lot of tread, man, a lot of tread. And they kept coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it because people were listening and people were commenting and all of those things. And so, you can look at it as Notre Dame bias, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But it was what people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear this argument because they got so heated on one side or the other.
Yeah, and because Notre Dame was involved with it, it led to even more passion on both sides and, more controversy.
Right.
Well, because Notre Dame was involved, and there were essentially, so many people claiming that Notre Dame was getting the advantage of Notre Dame bias, which to some extent it kind of felt like they were right till
the end.
Pulled out underneath them at the end.
Yeah, exactly correct.
Yep. And then Played Like a Champion also says, sorry if you've already analyzed this, but the NFL recently completed a deal for a 10% ownership stake in ESPN. How might this affect college football? What concerns you about it? So this is all kind of, I don't know how closely you followed this, Vince. I really don't expect there to be any impact on this in college football. So what this is, this 10% stake, this had to do with ESPN purchasing the NFL Network and the other NFL digital assets. So ESPN acquired the NFL Network. They got the rights to NFL Media's fantasy football, the rights to distribute the Red Zone channel to the different cable and satellite operators. And then you might also remember at the beginning of this past football season, ESPN launched its streaming service. For all of their stuff now is streaming on their ESPN app, all their programming. So by acquiring the NFL Network, that programming is also now going to be available on the ESPN app. So it's giving them more, on the backside of it, more programming to go in the app that they want to charge people for. So, but as part of the deal for this whole acquisition of NFL Network and the other NFL media properties, the NFL gets a 10% stake of ESPN. So it's really more about keeping the NFL Network alive and giving ESPN more programming to go with its streaming platform. And obviously it's the NFL. It's the most popular TV product in America.
No-brainer.
There's a big part of that. Really, I don't think it's going to have any impact on college football. I think that when you look at ESPN and the NFL Network, because of this deal, it's probably going to be similar to you've got ESPN, but ESPN also runs the SEC network and the ACC network. And there's a little bit of crossover in terms of, different people doing some different things. Like Feinbaum obviously does SEC network and he does some stuff for ESPN, that kind of stuff. So I really don't think that there's going to be any impact in college football in all of this. It's like I said, it's more about ESPN acquiring the NFL Network and these different properties, and in exchange, ESPN is, they're getting this 10% stake in the company in ESPN.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So I'm gonna let that sleeping dog lie right there with what you just said. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to change anything.
All right, let's take our final break this hour and then come back to run through some more mailbag questions. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down the first hour, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Again, we've got Notre Dame men's basketball pregame at 6:30 tonight. The Fighting Irish down in Louisville this evening. We got a few more mailbag questions that we can jump into here before we wrap up. The first hour from Fat Fish. He says, is Mike Vrabel coaching the Patriots back to the Super Bowl an amazing turnaround, or is it purely a lucky playoff schedule being in the, he says NFC least, but it means AFC least, and a weak AFC conference? What do you think, Vince?
Oh, there's a lot in there. I think, first of all, I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach. I think he was a really good coach when he was in Tennessee, and you don't just forget how to coach. So I think he's a really good coach. I think that they did a good job, in free agency, and look, New England's always done a good job in the draft. Like, that's always been their thing. So yes, they turned it around. But it's a lot easier to do that in the NFL than it is to do that. Well, I guess it is now in college football. But you can do that in the NFL. I mean, we've seen numerous worst to first and, that kind of stuff in the NFL. So I put a lot of it on Mike Vrabel. I think he's a really good coach, and he's got a great support system around him, got good coaches. So I give him a lot of the credit.
No, absolutely. I think you have to. And I mean, they've got a good quarterback as well, who people were feeling good about at the end of last year and who just got better this year as well. They went 4-13. The Patriots did the 2 years before they hired Vrabel, and the Titans were dumb enough to fire him. And then they got progressively worse and fired their head coach before the season was over this year, the coach who replaced him, and let's not forget, some of these things can be true, but look, like even the peak Patriots of Brady and Belichick never had a great division. That was when Buffalo wasn't even good. So like the AFC East was always pretty weak back then, probably even weaker then than it is now, because at least they had to go through. Well, they didn't go through Buffalo, but Buffalo was better. But the Patriots also had to win 3 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. Like the Broncos, because they had a first-round bye, they only won 1 game. And then, of course, they lost their game. Now, did they catch a little break because of the fact that Bo Nix broke his ankle and he wasn't able to play? Sure, but, I mean, stuff like that happens all the time in the playoffs. But, they had to beat 3 different teams to get there. Maybe a little fortunate. This is just an odd playoff year.
It really is,
because you had no Mahomes,
right?
So like they didn't have to go through that dynasty. Josh Allen, I think we can all agree, Josh Allen seems like a pretty good guy, but you can also, whatever side of the fence you sit on with him, I'm leaning more towards overrated guy who may never get there ultimately. Like, what has he ever shown that he can win a big game? And that's the biggest game that the Broncos won at the end of the day. But, nobody had to beat Lamar Jackson or even Joe Burrow for that matter. So it's just kind of a weird playoffs. And I think you do have to give a lot of credit, though, to Mike Vrabel for being a first-year head coach and inheriting a team that was really bad last year and only won 4 games 2 years in a row. They've won, I think it's 17 games now going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think you got to give it to them.
Yeah, and that's that doesn't just happen. Yes, the path, you could argue, is whatever and all, but you still got to win the games. You still got to get there, and it's still not easy to win games on Sundays in the NFL. So
right,
yeah.
So a couple of these questions kind of piggyback on each other. Cousin Eddie's mobile home says, "Do you think there will be growing pains with the new coaching additions? What will be keys to Notre Dame winning a national championship?" And let me see. And then ND Forever 72 says, "Confidence level, we see the defense we saw last 9 games next year, or they revert to the putrid defense we saw against Miami and A&M?" Because obviously the coaching changes are on the defensive side of the ball.
But there's 2 things that are still in place, that were in place for those last 9 games: the defensive coordinator and the head coach. And so, yes, they have some new position coaches, and there's going to be some growing pains there. I would imagine that those would work themselves out, in the spring and then in the fall camp and things like that. At the end of the day, you are operating under the scheme of the defensive coordinator and the head coach. Those guys haven't changed. And so it's going to look a lot more like the last 9 games than it did, 9.5 games than it did the first 2.5 games, is what I would say.
Right.
And I'm fairly confident that that's going to be the case.
And I expect Chris Ash, the defensive coordinator, obviously, that you referenced there a few times without saying his name, to have a much better handle on the personnel this time around that he did last year. And he's got spring, and they're all going to go through this together in the spring as a staff. So could there be some growing pains? Sure, because it is a new coaching staff, and you're going to have some, slightly different philosophies. Just like J1 Sider, even though he's a really good running backs coach, is not the exact same guy as Dylan McCullough coaching the same group. So I don't expect there to be anything massive like what we saw last year because of the stuff that you talked about. You do have the coordinator and you have the head coach both there.
Right.
And then from Tatsumaki, does the NCAA or ESPN, I don't know who actually made the announcement, releasing playoff game dates already for the 2027 season indicate that the current 12-team playoff is locked in for the next 2 seasons, 26 and 27, or could it still be expanded after the end of the 26 season?
Okay.
Clarification on this, because for one, they did not announce for 26 and 27. It is for the 2026-27 season. Just like this year.
They did both. They had 2 years worth.
You sure about that?
100%. Yeah. We got the email. I have it right here.
I did too, but all I saw was 2020.
They had 2 sets. They had 2 sets of dates.
Okay. Go ahead. But
it doesn't matter. That's we're splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter. So the NCAA and the ESPN, neither one of them are the ones that released that. The College Football Playoff Committee, CFP, they're the ones that announced it, first of all.
Right. Because it's the bowl sites.
Yeah.
Where they're playing.
And all they did was they announced where the bowl sites were going to be. You can still expand the playoff because those are on campus sites the first week. So you could easily still expand the playoff and hold on to where those next round games are at the bowl sites. So I don't think it really means anything as far as expansion is concerned. We know that the 26 football season, 27 championship, however you want to say it, we know that's going to be 12, right? But beyond that, it's whatever. Like we'll wait and see, and that kind of a thing. But even though they announced the locations, the dates, and all of that, you can still add more games to that first weekend where you're having host sites.
Basically, they can alter it every year. They just have a date. They have a date for the TV purposes.
Yes.
But so for 2027, they have until almost a year from now, basically, to, whatever ESPN decides the cutoff is, because for those purposes. So, yeah. All it takes is a vote.
I thought about that. I was like, wow, is this really saying that they're not going to? And I was like, well, no, because right now they've got buys and things like that are in play. But if you add 4 more teams, then there's just no more buys, and you're playing, more host sites on campuses. And so that doesn't change anything about where those bowl games are going to be played.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap up the mailbag portion of the show. We'll take a timeout, come back. Rapid fire will be rapido as we get to a Notre Dame basketball pregame show in less than 30 minutes. It's coming up next on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. We roll into hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. It will be an abbreviated hour, and it is rapid fire.
Woo!
Yes.
Little hump day rapid fire, ready to go.
Yep. That's the way it goes. Remember the old February college football signing day?
I very much do, actually. Very much, because we're there.
It's actually today. Who
I know.
knew?
I know.
And it's blank that Notre Dame announced the additions of quarterback Teddy Gerard and kicker Micah Drescher as additions to its 2026 signing class today.
It is very under the radar, the way that this is all going down, obviously, because the vast majority of everyone's class in the Power 4 rankings and really a lot of other levels as well, they're done in December. And it's really just kind of piecing the rest of it together in February, and that's why it's under the radar. It's like a news dump almost.
I know. It was like kind of surprising, under the radar. Yes. Anticlimactic. Yes.
I had no idea Notre Dame did this today until I read the rapid fire questions earlier this afternoon.
Really? And the only reason I knew is because there it was on social media. And it was like additions to the class.
Yeah.
Gerard, Micah Drescher. Yes. Very surprising. But so Gerard's not going to get here until the summer. He won't be an early enrollee. And obviously it's very exciting to get a quarterback, especially that caliber, to get a guy like that. ESPN says that he's got the most NFL upside of any of the guys in the class, and they point out his poise, his preparation, and confidence. And it's like, hey, sounds a lot like CJ Carr. So very good to get a guy like that. He'll kind of get to be an understudy for CJ Carr for a year by reclassifying.
It'll be, it's interesting because I was very well aware that it was signing day, because the lower levels, like underneath Division 1, so Division 2, 3, NAIA, all that, this is still their big signing day. And so this is like the 1-year anniversary of when my son signed.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at his
like Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I was also kind of keeping track of who is signing in this class. Did they sign another kicker, or that kind of thing.
Right.
So I was actually really dialed into the fact that it was National Signing Day, but it has nothing to do with Notre Dame because their class was pretty much complete 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, February is just an absolute afterthought, man. You and I, man, we would go in February, be like an all-day thing where you sit and you get lunch and they have, a press conference and you're just watching the faxes roll in and everything. Like, it was a thing back in the day. And
where BK was getting the texts and whatever else and getting calls. And
remember there was one year where he got a text literally during his press conference that somebody signed. I can't remember who it was or whatever, but, they had to quickly change the stuff that they gave out and everything. Like, that's when signing day was kind of fun. Like, it's not even fun anymore if you're not like a parent or something like that, because you kind of already know everything that's going to happen.
Yeah, for the most part, everyone's on their thing. And I had no idea when I got up this morning that today was the February.
I know, right?
Because nobody thinks about it.
They don't. It's only because I'm in a high school, because they do like a signing day ceremony, in the morning,
and the banners and all that.
Exactly. And so it's on my radar because of that. But if that wasn't the case, if I had your life, like not being in a high school, I would have no idea.
Yeah.
I would have no idea.
You didn't have someone sending you the rapid fire rundown during the day.
Seriously.
Don't feel bad, because like I said, it was off my radar too.
Oh, yeah.
Until I saw the tweets.
100%.
It's like, oh, okay. I guess you kind of do have to make it official. You actually do have to sign on the dotted line still.
You do. So. You do. Yeah. And it's all on computer now. It's all like a PDF, Adobe Sign stuff. And you just, bloop, bloop. It's easy peasy.
Yep. I'm watching a movie. I watched part of it last night before I got too tired. Have you ever seen the movie Zodiac, about the Zodiac killer in California?
I think I have. Yeah, I think I've watched a documentary about
like Jake Gyllenhaal and some other people. Mark Ruffalo.
Okay.
Actually, Anthony Edwards is in
really?
Goose. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Dr. Green from ER.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I watched about the first half of it last night, and this takes place, it's set in the 1960s, but they were talking about, I think they were calling it like the telefax machine, to send stuff.
Yep.
We don't, like, some of the police departments are like, oh, we don't have telefax, so it's like a lot different.
Yes.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that the Kansas City Chiefs are reportedly interested in bringing back former Fighting Irish running backs coach Dylan McCullough to be their running backs coach after McCullough coached with the Raiders this past season.
It's a good move for the Chiefs. Dylan McCullough is an excellent coach. He's on the unemployment line because the Raiders are a joke. And if he can get hooked up back with the Chiefs, that's a good thing because then he'll have some job security, and good for him.
It would be a very good thing
for
him. But think about this whole full circle kind of thing, because 6 years ago, McCullough was the running backs coach for the Kansas City Chiefs under offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. And since that point, they both left. Bieniemy, was trying to become a coordinator or a head coach. He could never get interviews, could never get a job, so he left the Chiefs to do his own thing. That didn't work out for him. McCullough left the Chiefs to go back to college. Remember, he went to Indiana before he came to Notre Dame because he wanted to be a college head coach, and then ends up leaving to go to the Raiders. And like you said, they're a joke. And now they're both potentially coming back, could be working with each other under Andy Reid once again. So I don't know. Is McCullough's career any more advanced right now than it was when he left the first time?
That's a great question.
It doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't.
But, because the whole goal that he had was to go become a head coach, and then he leaves Notre Dame to go to work for the Raiders. I don't know. Maybe it seemed like a good idea to work for Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, but didn't work out. I hope it works out better for him this time, because he's still a sharp guy, sharp mind. And, if Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy can put things back together in Kansas City, should give him a kind of a springboard, hopefully, to another opportunity down the road.
Yeah.
But it is kind of,
I didn't think of it that way. Like,
it's kind of odd that they both left and now they're potentially coming back together again.
Right.
So the outrage, Vince, last week was that Bill Belichick didn't get into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. And now this week, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft has been left off the Hall of Fame. He didn't make it in either. Scale of 1 to 10, where's your Robert Kraft snubometer?
It's like a 3. Like, he's a great owner, obviously. Like, you do have to have a symbiotic relationship between the football operations, the coaching staff, the owner. Like, they all have to be on the same page. Okay, no doubt about it. But if you're gonna rank those in order, the owner's below, in my opinion, unless they're super, like, way too involved, like other owners. Then
his name. But he's also in the Hall of Fame. So.
This is true. That's a very, very good point. But I would say on the business end, Jerry Jones has done amazing.
That's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Like, that's the difference.
Yes.
That's how basically owners get to the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Because other owners don't actually care about, winning football games and championships. They care about how much money you can make for them.
Correct.
And that's Jerry Jones. Instrumental, like, for example, after CBS and NBC had the NFL for years and years and years, he got Fox involved and got a third partner involved and drove the bidding up there and made billions off that new TV contract. He got the NFL, back to Los Angeles. He got rights for NFL teams to go away from, like, the corporate partners that the NFL had and let teams sell their own deals. Again, bottom line, Jerry has made a lot of money for the NFL, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame. Robert Kraft has done a lot of winning, but I don't know that he's done, more for the overall good of the NFL besides that.
Yeah, which is why I'm just like, like, it doesn't bother me that he didn't get it. He'll get it eventually, but it's not even close to as big of a snub as Belichick. Like, that, they're in completely different stratospheres.
Won more Super Bowls than anyone else.
Completely different stratospheres. Like, do we know when Robert Kraft bought the Patriots? Do you know?
It was early 90s.
So there
like
was
maybe in the 93, 94 range, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So there was a decent chunk of time where they were not successful and winning Super Bowls. So, I mean, it's not just because of Robert Kraft. Now, again, I'm not saying he's not part of the equation, but he doesn't need to be in on the first ballot either.
Right. Like, the one thing you can credit him with is maybe, not being too hands-on and not being, a micromanager, like the guy down in Arlington, like you can definitely give him credit for that. And he obviously made the right decision to hire who he hired. Look, he moved on from Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll went on to be a great coach in his own right, but Bill Belichick became the best head coach in NFL history, and he drafted Tom Brady, who became the best quarterback in NFL history. So he did those things right. But like getting owners in the Hall of Fame, not big for me. So I'd put my snub-o-meter at a 2. It's still definitely a bigger travesty that Belichick didn't get in.
Yeah. Yes.
They'll both get in eventually.
Right. Exactly. And Belichick will probably get in a year from now.
Belichick is the more deserving.
Oh, and it's not close. Yeah, agreed.
Right. Speaking of the Patriots, they're obviously in the Super Bowl facing the Seahawks. Does this kind of feel like one of the biggest, how the hell did this happen, Super Bowls that you can remember in a long time? We kind of talked about this in the mailbag a little bit with the Vrabel stuff.
I mean, the short answer is yes. This is the one of the biggest ones that I can remember, and you kind of knew that was probably going to be the case when the playoffs started. To be honest with you, because there just wasn't. It didn't have the star power in the playoffs that it normally does, and whether you want to call it star power, whether you want to call it, the push by the NFL showing certain people in the booth and things like that, however you want to slice it. It just didn't feel like the NFL had that this year in the playoffs. And so whoever was going to make it through the gauntlet at the end, it was just going to be like, okay.
Because, I mean, let's be honest. You don't even have Haley Steinfeld or whatever, like Jared Goff's wife, who's a model. Like, you don't even have her. Like, nobody knows her name, but you've probably seen photos of her.
Sure.
But, like, this should have been, based on how things have gone the last few years, with if the Chiefs were going to miss the playoffs and the Ravens were going to miss playoffs, everything set itself up for it should have been Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills against Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions.
Absolutely.
But that would have been out that way.
Massive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been because the Bills have never won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Neither have the Lions. And so those are just two starving fan bases. And you do have star power involved with both of those teams. You just don't with the two teams that actually made it, so it's just kind of
Like, would you, because I know that you're not big on Mahomes and the Chiefs and the whole thing. Indy Forever says it beats seeing the Chiefs or the Eagles in it. I will definitely agree to the second aspect, but it is lacking star power. Who is the biggest star in this game? Is it Sam Darnold? Because that's kind of what it feels like.
Honestly, because people have asked that question, and that's the first name that comes to my mind. It's not Drake May. I mean, Sam Darnold is the first one that comes to, Jackson Smith and Jigba obviously had a really, really good season that I didn't even know was happening until I heard about it in the playoffs. Yeah, exactly.
I think the casual fan is going to have a hard time figuring out.
This is what I'm saying.
What you're even looking at in this game.
Correct. I mean, it's just going to be watching a football game, and because it's the last one to watch for a while.
Right. Yeah. And then you've got like the whole Bad Bunny side story with this whole thing.
Side story is a side show.
I'm just amazed at what a controversy this guy became, because look at the last 5 or 6,
and they've all,
was anyone upset however many years ago that's been when Shakira, when
I was not upset watching Shakira. No, I was not upset.
But you're kind of proving my point. Because,
anyway, was I upset about that?
Yeah. But I don't like Bad Bunny either, but it's like the Super Bowl halftime show is much more about drawing casual eyes than it is
for sure
a hardcore football fan.
This is coming from a place of absolute and complete ignorance to the popularity or lack thereof or whatever of Bad Bunny, because I don't know. You say that the halftime show is for the casual viewer. Does the casual viewer follow Bad Bunny? Is that because I don't know. And I don't even know if you know. I don't know.
Well, I think the other part of it, though, is, the NFL is making this concerted effort with international games and trying to draw an international fan base and that kind of stuff. And again, like whether, like white guy, Sean and Vince are paying attention to Bad Bunny.
Sure.
We're obviously not. But, people in our age demographic are not. But he is the most downloaded artist, apparently.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that. So that's good information to have because I didn't have that. And so I just didn't know. And I had heard of who he was before he got picked for the halftime show, but it obviously escalated his name in the stratosphere that I pay attention to because he got picked to be in the halftime show. Right?
We've heard of him mostly because of the controversy.
I mean, look, Sean, if you want to have a flair or whatever, the Latin flair, then just bring Shakira back. And that's, I think we would all be okay with that.
I have not liked, for the most part, any of probably the last 5 or 6.
I think that's fair. I'm right there with you.
Like they're looking for a much younger demographic than you or me.
Right. Because we're in. Like, we're going to watch regardless of who the halftime show
is. We're the diehard hardcores.
Correct.
So, taking like the musical, like the halftime act out of it, because I know your wife is like, she could probably care less about sports than my wife. My wife at least is into, Travis Kelce and the Taylor Swift, and I don't know like how far down your wife even cares about that. So like, will she watch? Will she sit and watch the Super Bowl? Does she need like some of the extra name recognition, like the T Swift or any of that kind of stuff that's come with it over the last few years?
She obviously is a fan of the commercials, things like that. And that even is losing its luster to a degree because they all come out ahead of time.
Yeah.
But that's what she watches. I mean, she'll be like in the room, like walking in and out, like that kind of a thing. She'll want me to watch it in the main room. You know what I mean? So I'm around the family. Her pay attention level will be somewhat low, I would imagine.
Yeah. And that's the way it works. But like, if the Chiefs and Swift were there, would she have any more interest if that was happening?
No, she really wouldn't. My daughters would.
There you go.
My daughters would. And I don't think they have any interest.
Yeah.
Like my one daughter will be happy if we have snacks. That kind of but yeah, they're out on that now.
What do you think about the fact that NBC is going to be doing part of its pregame show from Alcatraz in the San Francisco Bay?
This is the first time that I've heard about this. And let me tell you, my first instinct was I'm so incredibly jealous because I was just in San Francisco over the summer. It's the only thing I wanted to do was go to Alcatraz. And I didn't do it.
You guys didn't go to Alcatraz when you were there?
No, because it was crazy expensive to take the whole clan. It's like $60 a pop to go over there, whatever it was. And I was like, oh.
That's true.
So I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Might have had to draw straws and just taken one.
This guy, that's all they needed to go.
You guys, I'll be back in 2 hours. I'm going.
Seriously. I was this close, Sean.
Gotta go see if I can find Nicolas Cage.
Seriously. Sean Connery.
I think it's a little bit amusing considering they are calling this the San Francisco Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl's nowhere near.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It's south of the South Bay, down by San Jose, and they're doing the pregame show up in the in Alcatraz in the San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
All right. We got to wrap it up with that. That's going to do it. Enjoyed it as always, Vince. Great questions in the mailbag tonight. We've got Notre Dame men's basketball coming up next. Notre Dame and Louisville are coming up. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.